I used to think that to be loved, I had to be the life of the party, always smiling, always saying yes. I was Chloe, the girl who never had a bad day, the one everyone could count on for a good time. But inside, that smile was a mask. Every party, every late night, every forced laugh felt like it was chipping away at who I really was. I was exhausted, chasing a version of myself that wasn't even real, all because I was so afraid of being alone, of not being enough. One night, after yet another party, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the tired eyes staring back. That was my breaking point. I realized I was performing, not living. The fear of disappointing others had become bigger than the need to be true to myself. So, I stopped. I stopped saying yes when I meant no. I traded late nights out for quiet nights in, reading, painting, just being with myself. It was terrifying at first. The invitations slowed down. The phone calls became less frequent. This silence was deafening. But in that silence, I found something incredible. Me. I started listening to my own voice, my own needs. I discovered I loved hiking at sunrise more than dancing until dawn. I found joy in simple things, like a cup of tea and a good book. I met people who liked me for my quiet thoughts, not my loud laughter. My dad, Robert, noticed the change. Eonse told me I always loved the girl who lit up the room. But I'm so proud of the woman who found her own light. He was right. I didn't need the spotlight anymore because I had found my own inner glow. This journey wasn't about becoming a new person, but about returning to the person I was always meant to be. It's about empowerment, about realizing your worth isn't measured by applause, but by your own peace of mind. If you're feeling lost in the noise, maybe it's time to get quiet and listen to yourself. You might just find the most amazing person you'll ever know. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more. My graduation cake slid off the table, its icing smearing across the patio stones. My 12-year-old nephew, Leo, smirked up at me. You can still eat it. And Chloe, it's just a little dirty. The whole family erupted in laughter, but my father S. was the loudest. I just stood there, frozen, the cake server dangling from my hand, wondering how affection from your own family could cut so deep. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked away, their mockery chasing me into the twilight. A little later, my phone lit up with a text from my dad. Asterisk, we are cutting you off. Do not contact us again. Asterisk, my brother even gave the message a thumbs up. I typed a single sentence in reply, and in that moment, the life I knew came to an end. The backyard had been a picture of summer perfection, winkling lights, the smell of grilling meat, a classic family reunion. But underneath all the chatter, I could feel this tension humming. My dad, Robert, worked the crowd with his usual charming grin, while my brother, Mark, was holding court, soaking up the spotlight that always seemed to miss me. His son, Leo, sat right beside him, a little prince absorbing all the adoration. Someone called out, "Tell us about the cruise." And Mark beamed. It was incredible. Dad surprised us with an upgraded suite. My father just nodded, pretending to be modest. They deserve a treat now and then, he said. No one asked me about living in Denver. No one mentioned my master's degree. On a side table, my cake with "Congratulations, Chloe," written in elegant pink script, was shoved into a corner, almost hidden behind a tower of napkins. People kept bumping the table, making the whole thing wobble. I stared at it for a second too long, seeing a bit of myself in its pretty, forgotten presence. A gust of wind made the string lights dance, and for a split second I actually let myself hope that this time would be different. But then Leo darted towards the table, his eyes gleaming with that familiar, mean spark. His voice sliced right through the party buzz. "Aunt Chloe, Grandpa says you only went to grad school because you couldn't get a real job." The laughter that followed was harsh and grating. My dad didn't correct him. Mark just studied his drink with a smirk. I thought of every single birthday I was told to be the bigger person, every achievement that was met with a shrug. The lump in my throat was thick, but I forced it down when Leo's palm slammed into the cake, sending it flying. Time seemed to slow down. The platter exploded. Icing splattered my sandals, and the collective gasp from the family turned into another wave of cruel amusement. I was completely paralyzed, just gripping the cake server. No one scolded him, not even my mother, who was quietly refilling a chip bowl nearby. The last thing I heard was my father's voice, light and dismissive. "Oh, lighten up, Chloe. It's just a cake." I carefully placed the server down, untied the kiss, the cook apron I'd been wearing, and walked straight through the house. Their laughter was a soundtrack to a party I was never really invited to. I got in my car and just drove off. No goodbyes. For the first time, I didn't cry. I just felt something inside me break cleanly. And finally, I drove for hours, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. By the time I got back to my Denver apartment, it was past 2 a.m. My phone vibrated. A message from Dad. For a fleeting second, I hoped it was an apology, but the words were sharper than any knife. Asterisk, we are cutting you off. Do not contact us again. Asterisk, a moment later, a heart emoji appeared next to it. Mark's reaction. I stared at the screen. My chest didn't ache. My eyes stayed dry. I just felt numb. So I opened my laptop. The cursor blinked on an old budget file. 2 lines glared back at me. Asterisk parents' home equity loan, $550 month. Mark struck loan, $480 month. Asterisk, both co-signed by me, both on autopay from my account for the last 4 years. I'd signed because Dad had said, "You're the stable one, Chloe." Back then, it felt like my duty. Now, it just looked like chains. I opened a new message and started to type, each word a lock clicking shut. Asterisk, removing my name from both loans tomorrow. The payments will stop. Asterisk. No pleasantries, no excuses. I hit send. The phone chirped once, then went silent. I turned it face down on the table. The silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like power. They wanted me gone. Fine. But this time, They were going to be the ones feeling the loss. By 9 a.m. the next morning, my phone was blowing up. Dozens of missed calls from my parents, my brother, numbers I didn't even recognize. The family group chat was a storm of anger and threats. Asterisk, you've destroyed us. You're dead to us. Asterisk, not a single message asked for forgiveness. I didn't respond. I drove to the bank for an appointment with a financial advisor, Ms. Chun. I sat down and told her I co-signed to loans for my family. I've been making the payments for years. I need to be released. She nodded with a flicker of empathy. It's unfortunately common. She explained that if I could prove I didn't benefit from the assets, we could start the cosigner release process. I handed her my folder of evidence-less agreements, pay stubs, and even a text from my dad that read, "The house is ours. You just helped with the paperwork." Ms. Chan looked it all over. "This is more than sufficient," she said, and then picked up her phone. "Let's get the liability release for Chloe Evans processed immediately." The sound of her stamp hitting the final document was the most satisfying thud I'd ever heard. "As I left," she said, "you've made the right choice. Setting boundaries is how you teach people how to treat you." That evening the family chat was still raging. Asterisk, you've ruined our credit. You selfish bitch. You'll pay for this. Asterisk, I typed one clear sentence. Asterisk, I just stopped paying for the people who laughed when my cake hit the ground. Asterisk, I sent it and put my phone down. The silence that filled my apartment was immense, and it was all mine. 3 days later, the frantic pounding started on my apartment door. I knew who it was. My dad and Mark. Their faces twisted with rage. "Chloe, open this damn door!" My father's voice was shrill. "What the hell did you do at the bank?" Mark slammed his fist against the wood. "My truck is getting repossessed. Do you get that? You've ruined everything." Funny, I thought. That's exactly what they had always done to me. I calmly opened a police non-emergency app and reported a trespass. "They're my family," I told the dispatcher, "but they are not welcome here." When the police arrived, my dad yelled, "She's my daughter. She's stolen from us." The officer was firm. "Sir, this is her private residence. If she has asked you to leave, you need to leave." My dad's entitlement just crumbled into desperation. "You'll regret this, Chloe," he spat as they were led away. "Family is forever." I didn't respond. I just slid down against the door, my hands shaking not from fear, but from a profound, dizzying release. I saved the audio recording from the intercom. I labeled it *Freedom. May 12th. The online smear campaign started the next day, with my dad posting on Facebook about how his ungrateful child had betrayed him. The old me would have tried to defend myself. The new me just took a screenshot, sent a professional email to my colleagues to give them a heads up, and closed my laptop. The truth doesn't need a megaphone. A few days later, a letter came from the bank, certifying that I held no further liability. That embossed seal was a tangible mark of my liberation. Weeks turned into months. I thrived. I got a promotion at work. I made new friends, the kind who celebrate your wins. I learned to make sourdough bread. I was just Chloe, whole and free, finally belonging to myself. Almost a year later, a single text came from Mark. Asterisk. I'm sorry for all of it. Asterisk. I read the words, and then I put my phone away. I didn't reply. I've learned that forgiveness isn't always about letting people back in. Sometimes it's about quietly closing the door for good and finally being at peace. And looking out at the Denver sunset, I whispered to myself, "You're home, Chloe. You're finally home." Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more stories about finding your strength. See you next time.